This video is sponsored by my favorite website creator, Squarespace, the best place to go when you want to get a domain or create a gorgeous website or an online store. It's a new year, and I'm guessing here that you, just like me, are in the mood for a fresh start, a clean slate, and just, in general, setting ourselves up for the loveliest possible year ahead. And of course, we can't have a fresh start without looking at the freshest thing in our daily life, our diet. Or in theory, the freshest thing. If your diet isn't feeling very fresh at the moment, and I know mine isn't after a few Christmas weeks of indulging on saffron buns and white crisp bread and all the vegan cheese and sausages, then maybe you'll enjoy hearing about my new delightfully healthy 2025 diet that I've been doing for about 10 days now. And when coming up with this diet, these were my requirements. Basically, like all the things that I wanted to change in my diet from last year. So I want my everyday 2025 diet to be quick to prepare, cheap, and most importantly, incredibly kind to my sensitive stomach. Oh, and vegan, of course, but that goes without saying. My stomach is seriously my Achilles heel. It always has been since I was a kid. So if you're struggling with like bloating or stomach ache or whatever, I'm going to share a bit about what's helped me in terms of a stomach-friendly diet. Okay, breakfast. Since we're today talking about my normal everyday diet, for like a normal work day, I have to admit that on work days, I don't tend to eat breakfast. I've mentioned this before, that like eating something substantial in the morning makes my brain all sloggy and slow. And since the morning hours are my by far most focused hours, I don't want to ruin them with like brain slog. So I'm just having tea. Usually green tea, but sometimes black lapsang souchong tea. At the moment, I'm completely adoring Chinese jasmine green tea. I think it's the perfect tea for spring. So fresh. And it makes like even the greyest and dreariest Tuesday morning admin feel like sort of luxurious. Highly recommend. Green teas are in general a little bit better for us than most other teas since they are processed less and because they are higher in antioxidants. And you know what I feel about antioxidants? They are my favorite people. But that's not why I drink such copious amounts of green tea, because it's healthier. No, I drink green tea because it's just so goddamn delicious and weird. And yes, because it's like one of the most glamorous drinks imaginable, if you ask me. Usually I get through more than 1.5 liters of this stuff every day between I wake up and lunchtime. That's why I need a tea light stand to keep it warm throughout the morning. Can you imagine the nutrients I slosh my body with every morning simply by being a bit decadent with my organic jasmine tea? I'm not saying that black tea or coffee is bad. What I'm saying is the green tea, it's supreme. Of course, all this means that at lunchtime I'm very hungry because I've only eaten like maybe some grapes or some nuts from the fridge in between my tiny cups of tea all morning. So I'm a minimalist at heart, and one thing that I felt that I wanted to make sure this year is that my everyday diet is extremely simplified. Basically, my days are so packed with work that I don't want to spend time on anything unnecessary, because I want to like free up as much time as possible for my early evening reading session before dinner, to make sure that I have like at least 2 hours after work and before dinner to really unwind and clear my head from the work thoughts. This is one of the reasons why I've started a new lunch regime, and it's a classic at Mustard headquarters. I used to eat this every lunch for years, but for the last couple of years I've gotten out of the habit. But pleased to say that the habit is back in order with my dear old friend, cold porridge. Now, please hear me out before you groan and roll your eyes, because yes, I understand cold porridge does definitely not sound like a dear old friend. It sounds not very fun at all, but if that's what you're thinking, you would be wrong. It's actually one of the freshest, most delightful meals around. Basically, I make a huge pot of like very loose, very overcooked porridge, so a lot more water than normal porridge. And then I pour it into small containers, one for each day. I usually make 6 portions, so lunch for a week, and it holds in the fridge for a week just fine. And when it cools, it becomes much thicker and denser, so kind of like the same density as hot porridge, even though it's really much more watery and overcooked. For my porridge, I mix in frozen black currants, red currants, raspberries, and a finely chopped apple and some banana. Sometimes a few fresh strawberries if I'm feeling fancy, but honestly, I almost always do feel fancy. And once or twice, I like to add a couple of tablespoons of soy yogurt if I'm feeling like getting like extra fresh and tangy. Then an unseemly amount of cinnamon on top, maybe some basil leaves if I have it at home, and that's it. Which means that I've cut my lunch making time down from maybe 40 minutes to like 5 minutes, so 35 minutes less cooking 6 times a week. That means I actively save about 3.5 hours, but then of course it takes about 30 minutes to cook the porridge once per week. So that would mean that every single week I spend 3 more hours on the sofa reading novels, unwinding my tired brain simply by switching out what I eat for lunch. I would call that a success. The second reason for my new porridge regime, equally as important to saving time, is how it makes my stomach feel. But maybe let's move on to what I eat for dinner and talk more about that there. So dinner. Over the summer months last year, I started eating salads for dinner and it kind of stuck around a bit into autumn. But now I'm happy to report that order is restored in the mustard household and congee is back on the menu, albeit a little bit modified. You already know that brown rice and red lentil congee is our #1 staple dish, and it's so good for me. It makes me feel full, but not like heavy or bloated. And it makes sure that I have like an even level of energy, even though I don't eat breakfast. It's packed with fiber, vitamins, minerals, and phytochemicals. Like it really is unbeatable. Cheap too. And again, like eat it to meal prep and just put in the freezer like we do. David is in charge of congee cooking though, so I mean, can you imagine how much time I save by that? Anyway, I've been mentioning my stomach, so yes, it's by far my most sensitive body part. It gets like annoyed very easily, especially when I'm like overworked or stressed. So for the last couple of years, I've been feeling bloated and achy and just like easily irritated if I drink coffee or eat something that I am not used to. So a large part of looking over my everyday diet after the holidays has been about getting my stomach back to calm and content. And I know this about myself, and I've known this since the Berlin years, that there is a combination of 3 foods that if I eat these 3 things, my stomach will be happy and calm down and stop feeling bloated or sensitive. And those 3 things for me are congee, kale, and oats. It sounds a little bit like a 60s folk music group, doesn't it? Congee, kale, and oats. But anyway, this is what I'm eating now. I started a little bit before Christmas and then took a break to make room for all the saffron buns. And now I'm back to it since like 10 days or so. And like immediately when I eat like this, porridge for lunch, congee with kale for dinner, my stomach is like, you know, thank you, Jenny, that was it. David has his congee with broccoli, but no, broccoli cancels the stomach friendliness for me. It has to be kale. And like to steam it, to make it a bit softer and easier to digest, I eat the congee with kale, raw red onion, and bell pepper, a bit of coriander if I have it at home, and the holy trifecta of condiments, soy sauce, rice vinegar, and hot sauce. Sometimes I mix in a bit of white miso because yum, and nutritional yeast for the B vitamins and the cheesy, nutty flavor. Okay, we need to talk about snacks. After dinner, we always have tea, some fruit, and some nuts or like naked bars, and we're happy with this, so we will stick to this late snack routine. But when it comes to salty snacks, I need to calm myself because I have been nurturing the most ridiculous addiction the last couple of years for that gorgeous, white, fluffy stuff, popcorn. But no more, it needs to stop. I always get like this with snacks. I get obsessed with something until I go a bit cuckoo over it. And although popcorn isn't even unhealthy, like depending on the type of popcorn of course, but homemade ones are fine, it's just anything will become unhealthy if you overdo it. And I have been overdoing it, yes I have. So I'm switching out my snacking on popcorn to snacking on a weird one, legumes. Basically, my latest obsession is snacking on edamame, chickpeas, or haricot vert, sprinkled with my homemade smoked salt and nutritional yeast mix that I talked about in my recipe video last year, remember? So steamed edamame, cold chickpeas, and lightly pan-fried haricot vert with like my cheesy smoky salt mix. It cannot get any better. And it's so healthy, obviously. I know most people like snacking on edamame, but how would you feel about cold chickpeas or green beans as a snack? Would it hit the spot for you? David thinks that I'm a little bit mad with the chickpeas, but I just love the flavor. Sometimes I pour some hot water over them and snack on them hot instead, kind of like edamame. Ah, delicious. And all three of these are like perfect to have in a bowl in the fridge for when you just want to like grab a handful of something salty. It has like the perfect combination of satisfying to the taste buds at the same time as being absolutely packed with nutrients. So no snacking on empty calories type of thing. Cheap too, especially if you get dried chickpeas in bulk and cook them yourself. Because this is another thing. Like I mentioned earlier, one of my requirements for this new everyday diet is to spend less money on food. David and I are like ridiculous with overspending on food. We just love eating and drinking different weird things so much. But hello, porridge, brown rice, chickpeas, kale, bananas, lentils. Can you imagine how much money we will save if we just stick to this? So my organic Chinese jasmine specialty tea is not cheap, but like I said, that's a luxury. I deserve it for working so hard every morning. Finally, should we mention supplements maybe? Do you take any supplements? If so, what and why? I do a vegan multivitamin, a turmeric pill for the anti-inflammatory goodness, and a bit of cold pressed flaxseed oil for the vitamin E and for the omega-3 that I just like drizzle over food. I talk a lot more about vitamin E and antioxidants in my skin health video, by the way, if you're curious about the effect food has, not only like on how we're feeling on the inside, but also on like our luster and freshness on the outside. So okay, remind me to leave links to that video and for my recipe video for the congee and salt mix in the description if I forget. And like, do you enjoy these like foodie, healthy type of videos? I absolutely love making them. I find them really motivating for me as well. So if you want more of this type of thing, please let me know by, telling me in the comments and giving me a like. Oh, and feel free to subscribe, of course, if you haven't yet. Okay, this was fun. And now I'm really, really hungry. In, about 5 minutes, I will be tucking into my cold porridge with all them berries. Beautiful stuff. Now, do you want to create a stunning website or launch your own blog? Squarespace has you covered with its latest innovations. First up, let's talk about their new design intelligence. Combining 20 years of design expertise with cutting-edge AI, this tool helps you unlock your creative potential, building a personalized, one-of-a-kind website that fits your needs. Squarespace also makes running an online store easier with Squarespace Payments. Onboarding is fast and you can start accepting payments in just a few minutes. Plus, it supports various popular payment options like Klarna, Apple Pay, Afterpay, and others, giving your customers payment flexibility. And for seamless social media integration, Squarespace allows you to connect your social media accounts in just a few clicks, whether you're embedding a feed or syncing your products directly to Instagram or Facebook. It's an effortless way to expand your reach and keep everything in sync. So what are you waiting for? Go get your free trial today at squarespace.com. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/jennymustard to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That is a good deal. Thanks for watching today and go take care of that body of yours. You only got the one. So hopefully see you next week. Okay, bye bye.